Mesachta Zevachim Daf Nun Beis Oberal, the second line from the top. Yesterday we learned the drashas for the words of Yisod Mizbach Ha'oila. Sai, it says it 3 times by the pashas of Pahelam Dava, by the pashas Kapar Kayim Mashiach, and by the Sir Nasi. And each one had a drasha. The last drasha came to tell us that you have to, by all kabbanis, you have to pour it down the Shiyari Adam by the Yisod HaMizbeach. In fact, the Yemada, how do you know that the Shvichas Shirayim, that's what he's telling you, that the pouring of the blood, the leftover blood that was after the spraying on the Mizbeach, has to go to the Yisod. Maybe he's come to tell you not about the Shiyori Adam, about the spraying the blood. When you spray it, it could only be sprayed on those sides where it had a platform. You say that Mizbeach, but there was a side that didn't have Mizach's drainage, which didn't have a Yisod, was nothing. There was no foundation. 3 sides that had a foundation around the Mizbeach, and then this side had nothing. Okay. Maybe that's what he's come to tell us about the Zikas Adam. It has to be Al Yisod, by the Yisod of the, towards the Yisod of the Mizbeach. Keneged Al Yisod. Like Miksiv Al Yisod Ha'ila. Is it written Al Yisod Ha'ila to tell you that by Ha'ila you have to spray it Keneged Al Yisod? Al Yisod Mizbach Ha'ila Ksiv. Mizbach means in general for all kabbanis. And if you're talking about all kabbanis, then you had the chatos, which had to be sprayed even in the put on the corner, even of the corner where there was no yisod. So you can't say that the limud was the Zikas Adam was by the yisod, because it says mizbach, which includes chatas, and the matan domam of a chatas was even on the keren droimis mizach where there was no yisod. Says Gemara, like this. So mizbach muzmeinen, so this that it says it has to go on all the kabbanis, and the limud is that the remnants, the leftover the ram, had to go Yisod HaMizbeach. So what was talking to Havamina? What was the Havamina to is such a shayla that it meant only for the oila connect that you say shteitach mizbach? Says no, I could have said like this: if you would leave out the word mizbach, Havamina b'skif al Yisod, askif the Yisod. I would have thought that it could be the Yisod is like this. It has a platform that went around the Mizbeach, right? Like a platform. Yeah. But the platform also had a wall that went, here's the top of the platform, and the platform had a board that went from the platform down to the floor, right? So I would have thought you could even use the dam on that platform. It doesn't have to be on the top. It could be even on the side wall. As long as that's a shaykhs. So he says, no. You said that's Hashd. You said Mizbach Ha'ila, Muzmein Agagadi. You said it has to be on the top of the platform, not any lower. Why? Because just like a Mizbeach, you use the top of the Mizbeach. So too, by the platform, it has to be the top of the platform, not the side. Rabbi Yishmael said, Gag Yisoid lovely craft to tell you that you have to use the top of the platform. Why do I need a pasuk mizbach? What do I need a pasuk for that? L'chayda kavachenu. It's a kavachenu. Mash yorida machatas, which is sheina mechaperes or sheina mechaprim and tuna shvichas damagaga Yisoid. Madoch by the Shiyar Adam, it's not for kapara. It's leftover blood that after you did the kapara. It's not part of the Aveda. And you said it has to be in the Yisod, on the top of the Yisod, on the platform. But the first phrase that is a kapara, and they didn't shatuna. Zikaga Yisod doesn't have to be mamish also, at least on the walls that are dripping on the Gaga Yisod, but it cannot be on the wall on the side of the platform. Rabbi Akiva also said, I say also Kavachema. Uma Shiyari Adam Shem Mechaper, Madach Shiyari Adam that is not Mechaper. But he adds 3 more words over Rabbi Yishmael. Over Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Akiva says, the ain boy in Mechaper, the Lechatchila don't come to be Mechaper. And nevertheless, to Unin, how you said, you have to put it on the top of the gag of the platform. the first sprays that are mechaper, and it comes lechatchil to be mechaper. Einay din shetun gage. So for sure you need the top of the platform.
So you don't need a special.
You don't need a pasim. Okay, maltam leila. You say mizbach. What do I need the words mizbach? Ten you say lemizbeach shalayla. So now we learned the kavachema by Rabbi Akiva and by Rabbi Shmuel. It looks like the exact same kavachema. Just Rabbi Akiva added boyin. Maybe that wasn't the chiluk. Shirayim me'akvin ikvenaya. They're arguing about what's left over, if it's going to be me'akiv the kapara. Is it part of the avodah or not? Ma'asava me'akvin ma'asava le'makvin. Rabbi Shmuel, who holds Shirayim is ma'akiv. That's why he says only the word she'ein mechaper. Shirayim is not mechaper, but it's only not mechaper. But it's ma'akiv. It's not there to be mechaper, but could be ma'akiv the carbon. But Rabbi Akiva says it ain't a ma'akvim. Why? Because not only it's ain't mechaprim, the ain't boy lechap, so God is satam, God is kinshayches. So that's why it's not ma'akiv according to Rabbi Akiva. But Rabbi Yishmael only used the words ve'ein mechap. It's not going to be mechaprim, but it's going to be ma'akiv. Now Papa Amadu Kuliyama Shirayim ain't ma'akiv. Now Papa said everybody agrees that Shirayim is not ma'akiv. So what is the chilik tzvishin Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yishmael? They're arguing by a chatas ha'oiv, how would they spray the blood? They squeeze it on the wall of the mizbeach. So if there was blood, we're saying if the mitzvah adam of the chatas ha'oiv, he squeezed on the mizbeach. So if they already sprayed the blood, which is the remnants of the dam hazah. So if he didn't do if he didn't do the leftovers, Masav ma'akiv, Masav ma'akiv. Rabbi Yishmael says the mitzui is ma'akiv. He didn't squeeze the blood, the leftover blood from the oiv, chatz oiv, then the halacha will be it's ma'akiv. Where do we learn out? Why will mitzui be ma'akiv? So he brings down in the order because by mitzui it says a pasuk chatos hu, to tell us that even if spraying the blood, it says after the mitzui, it says chatos hu. It says mashma the mitzui was part of the kapara. You had to do it, and that's why it's ma'akiv. And that's why he only said ein mechaper. It's not going to be mechaper. Maybe it's not a inyan from kapara aval akiv. It's going to be ma'akiv. But Rabbi Akiva holds mitzui is not ma'akiv. Tanya Kava said the Papa, we learned in the Bais like our Papa that even Rabbi Yishmael holds that the shvichas shirayim of a bechatas behema is not ma'akiv. Now we want to say even Rabbi Yishmael holds it's not ma'akiv. The changing. Before we said Rabbi Yishmael says it's ma'akiv. Now we're going to say he's not ma'akiv. What do we see? He goes like that B'raisa. I mean like our Papa. This B'raisa is a right to our Papa that everybody holds it's not ma'akiv. So what? From where? Where do we see that Rabbi Yishmael holds that way? It says it's kol adam dam. Let's call it hadam hapor yishpech. The whole you say mizbach. The whole dam hapor has to be poured by the mizbach. Why did he have to say? It says hapor. What it's called adam yishpech. That's all he should have said. Matam lemim hapor. What do you have to say? Par. We're talking about the par. Limit hapor yom kippurim sheton matan domim liyisod. The pasuk has come to tell you the par yom kippurim also has the mitzvah of shvichas shirayim, has the din of shvichas shirayim. Divrei Rabbi.
It's not.
By Pa Yom Kippurim we say it does. Rabbi Yishmael, this din we can learn out with a kavachema. I don't need the extra word hapor to tell me that there's a din of matan dam. I mean the shvichas shirayim of Pa Yom Kippurim has to be in the yisod. We can learn out with a kavachema. He doesn't have to bring blood to the heichal to spray against the brech, because it's not a mitzvah for the kohen HaMashiach to sin, and then when he sins, he has to bring blood. He has to bring the blood of a carbon. If he doesn't sin, the kohen HaMashiach doesn't have to bring a par. So it's not a choiv. Nevertheless, ta'un yisoid, you say that the leftover blood has to go into the yisod. Misha nichnas daven lefnim chayva. Pa yom kippurim has to be brought. Zachayv every year you have to bring it. Kohen Mashiach, it depends if the Kohen Mashiach sins. He doesn't have to sin. You don't have to. The way the mentions you come into the Rav. Just fire Yom Kippur. Ich darf sagen Vidui. Ich habe nicht gewusst zu sagen Vidui. He's screaming. I don't have. He says actually, you have some. No, maybe you have a nekama against somebody. You have some on the nekama for them. Oh yeah. Gerade ich habe ihn was. Ich darf Mama's damit on the nekama. So he came to the house. And he knocks on the door. He says, "Du Nivzik, you started up und have ungebrochene Beine." And he goes out and he says, "Ah, oh, Hashem, jetzt kann ich sagen, wie du." Mit einmal hat geschehen von der Weib. Rabbi, der weiß nicht, was für ein Mitzvah ich habe getan. He didn't finish. Anyway, over here by Par, he doesn't have to sin. So there's not Par, it's not a chayv. But by Par, it's a chayv. So, Ein Shatan. A Yisod doesn't have to be a Yisod. Rabbi Akiva, this is how you learn the Kalvachayim. Ma mishein damin nichnas lifnai v'lifnim. Ma the one who doesn't bring the blood into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Bein l'chayv bein l'mitzvah. The Par Kohen HaMashiach was not brought into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. It was brought in the Heichal by the Mizbeach HaPnimi. The only one that went into the Kodesh HaKadoshim was the Par Yom HaKippurim that they sprayed towards the kapoides, no inside the heichal, between the bein the two badim. But you see, I'm telling you, say even though this blood didn't go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, Par Kohen HaMashiach, only Par Yom Kippur went, and the Par Kohen HaMashiach that the blood didn't go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, still the shirayim has to be put in the Yisod. The Par Yom HaKippurim, with that blood had to be brought into the Kodesh HaKadoshim where the Aron was. And it didn't shatona, you said. Shouldn't have for sure it has to be down the Yisod. So why do I need a pasuk? So maybe after the Kavachim, why did Torah write a pasuk? So we have a klal. If the Torah writes something twice, or he writes something he didn't have to write, it's le'akiv. Yakvenu. I would have thought, shvicha shirayim is ma'akiv. If he doesn't do the shirayim, it's ma'akiv the Par Yom Kippurim. That's why it says Dam apart to tell you Li'ikuva. Says Talmud Lema, that's why I have the pasuk V'chila mikapes hakodesh. The teachers Shomu kol kaparas kulam, that through the zikis Adam alone, without the shvichas dam, shiyari Adam, the kapara happened. It's not mentioned bechlal about the shvichas shiyari Adam when it's in that pasuk where it says V'chila mikapes hakodesh. It says you finish the kapara, even though it doesn't mention Shiyari Adam. So the Rabbi Yishmael, those are the words of Rabbi Yishmael. So you see that it's not Ma'akeh. That's why, but I would have thought it's Ma'akeh because of the extra words, Dam apart. So Gemara, the Braisa continues, Kavachim la Par Kohen HaMashiach, Mesiin Nasi. We have a Kavachim to Par Kohen HaMashiach from a Mesiin Nasi. Meaning now that you come to make a Kavachim, you can learn another Kavachim. Similar kavachema. Uma mishein nichnas damin lefnim. Ma the one who doesn't bring into the heichal loy chava v'loy mitzvah sin nasi. The blood was done by the mizbeach hachitzen. The whole carbon was done by mizbeach hachitzen. And nevertheless, you say Tony Yisod has to be poured down the Yisod. Mishein nichnas damin lefnim bein lechev bein mitzvah. But the Par Kohen HaMashiach has to be in pnim. I hear he says chayva, so he says, we said before it's not a chayva, only if he sins. So one day says here, Rashi writes one pirish, you have to erase chayva. It's not a chayva. Only if he sins, then he's mechuyev. It's only a mitzvah. Or you could say it's a chayv. Once he sinned, it's a chayv to bring the blood. That's how Rashi brings the second pirish. For sure it should need the yisod. It's brought, if the blood, it's more chamor. The blood is brought bifnim. The avodah is not bifnim. Of course, it has to be in Yisrael. So why do I need a pasuk for it? So says the Gemara, Yakvenu. I would have thought that that's called Adam Hapar. Yishpech is come to tell La'akiv. Talmud Lema comes the pasuk and says it's called Adam Hapar Yishpech. It says Yishpech. It doesn't say Bishofach that he has to do it. It says Yishpech. It's much lighter. Say this is like, it shouldn't be like other avodas that it's ma'akiv. It's not going to be ma'akiv. Meaning the chelik of Shiori Mitzvah is not a Ikir. Level Shirayim, to tell you that Shirayim is not going to be Ma'akiv. From this, that it doesn't say B'shafach, which would mean it's a Chayiv, you're saying Yishmach, so it's telling you it's much lighter, so it's not
It's
Ma'akiv.
better if you do it.
Yeah, I heard from his Stefanski, his clip, he said very good. There was a person, it says, there was a sign in the shul, no drinking coffee.
Over here?
No, in his shul.
It's a different show.
And the guy writes, Evana Ezer, Simin Kuf Yud Aleph. The guy thinks,
And where's
Alam,
that? That's a shul
says, in the shul, he writes, you shouldn't drink coffee.
He brings a guy from where?
From where he brings a market. Guy thinks, that market, that's Hilchas Nisuyin. He doesn't know what the Yachdaf up cooking. So he takes out the sefer and he opens up to Evan Ezra to Kuf Yud Aleph and he sees a big coffee stain. That's why you shouldn't drink coffee. It's not just dumb what you stain. What sees in paper is a coffee stain. Okay. So Rabbi Yishmael, thank you, mother. Rabbi Yishmael, Mitzvah Chatas Ha'if, Ma'akev. Is it true that the mitzui, they're squeezing out the blood from the leftover blood? If he doesn't squeeze out the remnants of the blood, it's going to be ma'akiv. But from the oif, Rabbi Yishmael, we learned in the Braisa in the basement of Rabbi Yishmael. By chatas oif, it says v'anisha badom yimatzei. So it says whatever is left over of the dam, you have to squeeze out on the mizbeach. Dafke v'anisha yimatzei. Only if there was leftover dam, if the dazor. But what's if there's no more blood in the neck of the oif?
Is that because it's
So
squeezed?
lo yimatzei. Then you don't squeeze. So you see that it's not a chayiv according to Rabbi Yishmael. And before you said Rabbi Yishmael says it's a chayiv that you have to squeeze out. Meaning, if there's no leftover blood, Rabbi Yishmael would say you have to take another oif and squeeze out that should make up for the mitzvah.
So it's like it was Miyakib.
Or like he said before, by the shiraim is ma'akiv. It's not it has nothing to do with kapara, but the shiraim is ma'akiv. What does it mean ma'akiv? That if he spilled out the whole shiraim, he would have to take another behemoth, shachted, do the zika, and have again shirayim to go into your say. So you have a stira Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Yishmael, the Beis Medrash Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Yishmael. One place Rabbi Yishmael says mitzvah is ma'akiv, and the Beis Medrash says it's not. He says harei tanoim. So he's a trei tanoim alim Rabbi Yishmael. It's two tanoim in Rabbi Yishmael. It's machlekes. One tana says Rabbi Yishmael says mitzvah is ma'akiv, and one tana says not. Now the Gemara wants to bring be done with shvichas shiraim of a chatas behema. He wants to prove from a baraisa that there's a tana that says it is me'akiv. That shvichas shiraim is going to be me'akiv. Where do we see that? Amar Rabbi Machoma. Hi tana sav shiraim me'akiv. The tana of this following baraisa holds shiraim. If you didn't bring shiraim, it's me'akiv. You would have to get another behema to perform shiraim. Tanya that we learned, it says by chatzis chitzayin shel behema hakoyin hamichateis v'yichlano. The koyin that's doing the aveda, he should eat it. But it says the lashon oisa. What's hakoyin hamichata oisa? Yichlano. What's oisa?
It's the Malach.
So it's a mayit. It's coming to meat. Only the one that sprayed the dam kil chasei on the four kranis of the mizbeach. Only that way it will be kosher. Oisa shenitin dam lamayla. Only the one that put on top of the chut hasika, the muscle, a chatas behema was sprayed on top of that red line that went around the mizbeach. A chatas ha'oif was sprayed on the bottom of the line. So what did he do? Shenitin dam lamayla on the four kranes is ksheda. The loy nitin dam lamata. But if he placed the dam chatas of the carbon under the chut on the lamata chut hasika, then it cannot be eaten. You're asking, what do you need this drasha to passel if the damachatis went down lower? How do you know to be masha? The mitzvah chatis. How would you? You're saying it's gonna be it's passel. That's what it's coming to tell you. Isa is coming to tell you this pasuk that you cannot switch the mekaymis where it was designated to be sprayed. Wherever the Torah says it has to be sprayed, it has to be sprayed. If you didn't do it in the right place, you did lamata instead of lamata, you did lamailo, lamata. It's gonna from Ma'isa we learn out it's no good. Who says that? Why would I ever thought it was good? So Gemara Miklal Shenema, because of the general rule by all kabbalas, it says v'dam zvachecha yishafich al mizbach Hashem lekach v'abasa teichel lamadnu linitoni b'matna abba shim neson b'abba b'matona achas keeper. He says From here we learn out, since it says V'dam Zvachacha Yishafich, it's mashma, even with one shvicha, he's going to be miskapa, and the meat you could eat. So because of the general rule of this pasuk that tells us one out of 4 is good, so yochel afaniton l'mayla shidin l'mata keeper. 1 out of 4, you're missing 3. Here you're not missing anything. All you did, instead of lamata, you went lamata, you went lamata. So I would have thought for sure it'll also be okay. That's why we needed Oisa, the pasuk, to tell us that it's not okay. So we can learn this from Asfara. Nemra, in the Torah, by Chatas Behema, it says Damim Lamayla. By Chatas Behema, it says, where does the blood have to go? On top of the red line. Lamayla Mechut HaSika. V'nemra Dam Lamata. And it says, by Chatas Oiv, it was Lamata Mechut HaSika. And so you can learn out, Ma Damin Hamudu Lamata. Lamata, Shinasan Lamayla Loy Keeper. Just like the blood, if he did the reverse, in the blood, the Chatzaif, where it had to be Lamata, and he did it Lamayla, it's not a kapara. Av Dam Hamudu Lamayla, so to the blood that he spread Lamayla, if Nas Lamata, if he did it Lamata, Loy Keeper. So what do I need? A special dasha to passel the Dam Achatas if it was not in the right place? Says Gemara, you wouldn't learn it out that way. That's psulim because she ain't safe in Lamaila. There's no such a concept, something that's sprayed Lamat Mechut HaSikra, that you can put it above the Chut HaSikra. Loy keeper. But by the Yonim, the blood that you sprayed by Yonim, you also use that blood, the leftover blood, where do you put it? Lamata in the Yisod. So you have by Lamaila, you have Lamata also. So since by Lamaila you have Lamata also, so that's why maybe over there, b'diavad, I would say it's a kapara, and that's why we needed the dash to tell you it's not a kapara on the Dam Lamaila, because the Dam Lamaila also uses Dam Lamata, the Shirayim. You can't. You would never say the Dam Lamaila. You would never say that you could. It would be kapara. Why? Because we find that the Shirayim of Dam Hapnimim, sheyesh mem kar b'chutz, meaning the Shirayim that those Shirayim, those bloods that you sprayed, the Parkoin HaMashiach, you sprayed where? In the Pnimim. But where did you put the Shiyari Adam? Is Beichachitzain in the Yisod. Bim the son of Matchila Bachutz. Let's say instead of here, you have 2 places where the Parkoin HaMashiach is the blood is being used. Part the sprays are in the Pnimim and the Shiyari Adam the Chitzah. What's if you did everything outside? Because L'chera it's used outside, like you said. The Lamaila is also used Lamata. You said Loy Keeper. So just like there, even though you use the Mizbeach HaChitzah for part of the blood, you said it's Loy Keeper. Here also I'll say, even though Lamaila you use the bottom of the Mizbeach for Shiyari Adam, I'll say Loy Keeper. Says He says the Dam HaPnimi is much more chamor. Why? Because the completion of the Aveda is not done yet by the Mizbeach HaPnimi. And he's soon going to explain what that means. But when you're talking about the Chatas HaChitzonis, when he sprayed the blood, by putting the blood on all the 4 corners, he already finished. It was a kapara. Zog the mother, im the son on Lamata, he yukshade him if he placed the blood on the bottom of the chutasik, it's kosher. That's why we need a Talmud Lema. If he placed the lamata, it's kshedim. So since Misvara, I would have been machshir. That's why Talmud Lema Isa should eat them lamayla, but should eat them lamayla. So he says by the Mizbeach HaChitzoni, where it's lenient because the Avodah is finished. So maybe I would say, hey, even if he changed the order of the Lamaila and he put it Lamata, I would say that it's a kapara. That's why we need a Isa to tell you it's not going to be a kapara. What do you mean that Mizbeach HaPnimi, the Avodah is not finished? Lav Elo Shirayim. Is it then not meaning that
Because
the
you don't do
kapara
the
is
church.
not done
Because
till you do the shvichas hashirayim. So therefore, it's considered another part of the Aveda. The Aveda was not finished. So you see the shirayim is ma'akiv, right? So Amalei Rabba said, Ihachi, he said to Rabbi Macham, Ihachi, if the kavanah of the price is Shemus Meicha Pnimi Mimakam is telling you why is it not finished because the shirayim is part of the Aveda, Teisi B'Kavachema. So then learn with a Kavachema like this, Ma Shirayim HaPnimim. Shesoif and Chayva B'Chutz, Ma Del Shirayim HaPnimim. Where the end of the Aveda is where? It's by the Mizbeach HaChitzayni. Asam betchila b'chutz loy kippur. So if you did part of the Aveda, the beginning of the Aveda b'chutz, he's not going to be a kapara, even though half or part of the Aveda has to be b'chutz, the shirayim.
like you say now,
Right. So aniton l'mayla she'ein sefen chayv l'mata. But when you're talking about a chatas chitzoni, where you place the blood, the l'mayla, and the blood that has to go l'mayla, and there's no chayv of shirayim, it's not part of the kapara. V'asam batchila l'mata, and if he did the matanas l'chatchila l'mata, ein adin shloi kippur v'shur shouldn't be mechaper. So what do I need the isa for? I can have a beautiful kavachema. You're saying that the dam pnimi, the shirayim is part of the Aveda. The beginning of the Aveda starts in the heichal, and the end of the Aveda, shirayim, is by outside by the Mizbeach HaChitzoni. So Madoch, where the part of the Aveda is done by Mizbeach HaChitzoni. So if you decide to do the beginning of the Aveda also by the Mizbeach HaChitzoni, I would have thought maybe it's not a problem, because part of the Aveda is being anyway done by Chitzoni, and you said Sloi Kippur. So for sure, when he places the blood Lamaila, and there's no Lamata, because Shirayim, there's not a mitzvah, it's not part of the Aveda. So for sure it shouldn't be Mechapa. Ella says, that's not the shot. What does it mean? What does it mean that Mizbeach HaPnimi, the Aveda hasn't been completed? Ella Pareiches. It means that you still have to spray, in the Mizbeach HaPnimi, you have to put it on the corners of the Mizbeach HaPnimi, plus you have to spray on towards the kaperes. So there are two Avedas there. There's the Ala Mizbeach and the Hazoya, they're spraying Ala Pareiches. That's the pshat. Okay. Tanya Habana Migland Benegeya Yom Kippur, a Kohen Gadol at the end of the Aveda, he sprays Taka the Dam HaPavah, and then it says V'chila Mikaper Es HaKodesh. V'chila means he finished the kapara. He finished the kapara. So we dash him like this: in Kippur, meaning if he did those hazoyas, those matonis dam, like Kedinon, which is mechaper, then kila. Then if he did everything kedin by spraying the blood, then mechaper, he's forgiven. That's only the kila if he finished all the aveda. Him loy kippur. But what's if he didn't do all the matanos adam kedim? Loy kila, he didn't finish the aveda. Divrei Rabbi Akiva. That's how Rabbi Akiva learns. Rabbi Yehuda, why don't you say like this? Im kila kippur, im loy kippur. Say, im kila if he finished, kippur is forgiven. Im loy kila, if he didn't finish, loy kippur, he doesn't forgive. Here he's learning mekaper first. If he mekila mekaper means if he finished first, the kaper, the hazoya is that you're mechuyev and you did a kedin, then it's a kapara. The second, Rabbi Yehuda says no. The pshat is like this. It says first the word kila, so in kila he finished. If he finished all aveda, kippur. Even though the pshat is the same, but which word are you kvetching? Kila or kaper?
Well, which one is more important?
More important. If he's missing one of these matanas, according to everybody, the carbon is nothing. He didn't accomplish anything. What's the chiddush between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yehuda? Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. There's a machlokes. What's the difference? Chad Oma Mashmois Doishnik Benayu. One says that they're arguing which word do we have to kvetch, the mekaper or the kila. One says that I'll say Rabbi Akiva says you kvetch mechaper. You have to say mechila mikaper. He finished the kaper. The kaper means those avedas that are mechaper the person. Then it's a kapara. Rabbi Yehuda says no. Mechila, stop. Mechila, you finished the whole aveda. Mechaper, and then it's forgiven. So you kvetch the first word, and Rabbi Yehuda says you kvetch the second word. That they're arguing about if the shiraim is ma'akiv. So according to Rabbi Akiva, it's not ma'akiv because he says in Kila Mekaper, it says only what do you have to finish? Those sprays that are mechap on a person, and it's not shiraim. It's just the sprays. The sprays that you spray in the mizbeach is mechap, and not the shiraim. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, the shiraim is ma'akiv because he learns in kila means if you finish the whole aveda, including the shiraim. So shiraim is part of it. So shiraim is ma'akiv. So you wanted to stayim that Yeshua and Levi who the Yama shiraim to be akvei ikvenayu. I can prove to you that Rabbi Shimon Levi is the one that said that the machloek is if the shiraim is ma'akiv or not. The Rabbi Shimon Levi, look his quote. L'divrei ha'oima shiraim ma'akvim. So that means there's a man that holds shiraim as ma'akiv. So maybe par achem mevada par he should umascha betchilu b'fnim. So you see, according to Rabbi Yeshua, who quotes Rabbi Shimon Levi about somebody who holds shiraim as ma'akiv, obviously he held that it was Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Akiva held shiraim ein ma'akiv. Says you're saying a quote from Rabbi Yeshua Levi. I can find you the one that argues with Rabbi Shimon Levi. He also says a quote. Does Rabbi Yochanan not who argues on Rabbi Shimon Levi not hold that there's Tanoim who say shiraim ma'akvim? Rabbi Yochanan had gesagt that Nehemiah said that the Shiyari Adam that was brought outside the Beis Hamikdash, he's chayiv kares because it's part of the Aveda. Why did Rabbi Nehemiah say the Shiyari Adam? The Shiyari Adam is not such a yikizdik thing. Rabbi Nehemiah said if you take the leftover blood and you bring it outside, it's no good. So why would he say that? So he says because he holds like there's a mandama that shiraim is ma'akiv. So both of them have. You said one says they're arguing if shiraim ma'akiv or not, and one says that they're arguing in the pshat, and everybody holds shiraim is not ma'akiv. Here, both of them have a mandama that says shiraim ma'akiv. You can't prove Rabbi Yeshua Levi is the one that's saying the machlik is if shiraim ma'akiv or not. Because Rabbi Yochanan says the same. Kedibri ha'ima means not Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Akiva. There's other Tanaim other than the machlokas of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Akiva. So just like we explained by Rabbi Yochanan, he's referring to not to the machlokas, hachanami. So too the words of Rabbi Yeshua and Levi will say Kedibri ha'ima v'lav lahani tanoi. When he said Kedibri ha'ima that says Shiraim is me'akiv, he wasn't referring to the machlokas of Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Yehuda. He was referring to a third party. Stop over here.